It's critical to acknowledge successes and failures to achieve your goals.
If you don't set goals, then you have no idea where you're going or why you're going there.
It's the small steps and the test and the recognition of those small steps that actually end with the success.
Once you have a vision of what you can be, a vision of your own greatness, then there's no doubt that you will achieve important aspects of that vision.
Hello, I'm Amalia Barreda, and welcome to FYI Video, Setting and Achieving Your Goals. In this program, we're going to look at the importance of setting goals in our personal lives and in our work. We'll provide you with a framework for setting goals, and we'll offer techniques you can use to reach them. Goal setting doesn't have to be a nebulous concept. It's a tangible, practical method which can help our lives take the direction and shape of our youthful dreams. Our field reporter, Bill Turpey, went out on the street to see what today's kids are dreaming about.
Ben, what do you want to be when you grow up?
Actor.
An actor?
Yeah.
How about you? What do you want to be?
Surgeon.
Flight attendant.
Hockey player.
An architect.
Any of these sound familiar? Let's see how some adults answered Bill's questions.
When I was in high school, I wanted to be a minister, and I'm a vice president of sales now, which I guess is kind of the same thing.
I'm a teacher now, and I wanted to be a teacher then.
I think I wanted to be a fireman. I ended up doing special effects for the movie industry.
I'm a designer, fashion designer.
What'd you want to be when you were growing up?
I don't know. I haven't yet decided yet. Thanks.
Whether or not we fully realize our childhood dreams, setting our sights on a life-work goal is a part of our identity. What do we mean by a life-work goal? You could call it a life mission or passion, but basically it's a long-term goal which we shape and reshape as we grow. It gives our lives direction and purpose. It not only defines our values and aspirations, it also becomes a tool which we can use to focus our energies, direct change, and create our futures, instead of merely reacting to external conditions. In fact, goal-setting skills have become valuable management tools in today's increasingly complex business world, helping managers guide and shape the futures of their employees and their organizations. In this videotape, we're going to meet two inspiring and intriguing individuals who've mastered the art of goal setting: Margaret Burnham and Dr. Michael Sales. But before we continue, I'd like to familiarize you with our guidelines for setting and achieving your goals. They'll help you understand more fully what you're about to see and prepare you for the personal action plan we'll give you at the end of the program. In both setting and achieving your goals, try using visualization techniques to help you see exactly where you want to be. And test the waters before diving in or changing course so you know what you're getting into before you commit to it. Then, share your commitment. Communicating your goal to others makes you more accountable to it and at the same time clarifies it. Now, focus strongly on one area to clarify and shape your goal and gain the credibility and expertise you'll need to build opportunities. Then, break down your long-range goals into attainable sub-goals using action steps to chart your course. And to keep yourself on course, use whatever reminders work for you, from lists to flowcharts to notes on the mirror. Since honesty is essential to attaining your goals, be sure to acknowledge both your successes and your failures. And finally, be sure to continually reassess your goals, evaluating and adjusting as you go. If goal setting is like charting a course, then think about these guidelines as buoys along the way, and ask yourself how you can adapt them to meet your needs. Now let's meet Margaret Burnham and see how she approaches her life-work goal.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up live out the true meaning of its creed.
I came into my teen years at a time when the civil rights movement was emerging as a major force in our country.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
I think that that experience really affected my sense of myself and also the goals that I set for my life, for the rest of my life.
I have a dream.
Margaret Burnham grew up in New York and at age 17 went to Mississippi to join the civil rights movement. That experience helped her to find her life work goal.
I didn't have a sense of where I was going to go or what I was going to do, but I knew that rights were very important to me. And I think that that sense that rights were important, that people's individual sense of rights was important, was what led me after college to go on to law school and to become a lawyer and to become a defender of rights and of the Constitution.
Once the door to the high school is closed, the First Amendment is excluded. It's a very, very simple issue.
Fairly early in my career, I'd say after about 8 or 9 years of practicing law, it occurred to me that a career change might be in order, and I thought about myself in the position of judge. And so I decided to go ahead and apply for a judgeship here in Massachusetts, and actually won a slot and spent a number of years on the bench.
In 1977, Margaret became the first black woman appointed to the Massachusetts bench. She was at the pinnacle of her career, and although she enjoyed the power and prestige of her judgeship, something was missing for her. Her colleague explains.
I think she began to appreciate the limits of what a judge can do. Those limits began to clash with her own personal values, her view of herself as this pioneer and as this crusader who had her own agenda for civil rights and social justice.
I decided to leave the bench because the job was no longer fulfilling or satisfying, and I felt it wasn't challenging my own abilities, and I wasn't making the contribution that I was capable of.
Some might view Margaret's decision to step down from the bench as a step backward, but to Margaret, reassessing her life brought her renewed direction.
The reassessment is an ongoing, continuing, and not always conscious process. I am always looking at my days and my weeks and my months to figure out where I stand relative to where I want to be.
After leaving the bench, she didn't return immediately to litigation. Instead, she chose another career option.
I left the country and took my children to an island and spent 5 or 6 hours a day writing, and enjoyed the time that I spent doing that, but then realized that it probably was not for me, that I would essentially be starting from square one after I had already spent a good deal of time developing a reputation in one field.
Margaret is philosophical about a false start.
You always realize there is a tomorrow, and that your failures will be followed by successes, and indeed by more failure as well.
Margaret returned to law, where she garnered a great deal of success as a Harvard Fellow, an MIT professor, and above all, a lawyer for civil rights.
Very rich. At one point, it was really only the very rich or the very poor had lawyers. It's now not even the very poor have lawyers. Well, when I started on this road, it was that with the sense that I wanted to be a civil rights worker. And now, many years later, I am a civil rights lawyer here in Boston. So I feel like, in fact, I have come full circle, as it were, that I'm doing what it was I set out to do. I'm using the tools of the law to advance the goals that so impressed me as a youngster back in Mississippi.
It's clear that Margaret's dedication to civil rights and community service was the force that launched her from Mississippi activism to law school and the bar, and propelled her to the exalted status of first black woman in Massachusetts to serve on the bench. She not only met her goal, she surpassed it. But the big question she ultimately had to face was, Did she bypass it? Did she forfeit an important piece of her dream? Let's see how our experts perceive Margaret's pursuit of her goals in terms of our guidelines. Tom, what do you see as Margaret's life-work goal, and did she reach it?
She had an inner vision. Some sense, however intuitive, came up about what she needed to do with her entire life. She knows it intuitively because she feels doing this, I'm not happy. Doing this is gratifying. She follows the American dream. She sets her goals, and she becomes a judge. She accomplishes it. Isn't that great? Yes, it is. But that inner voice that spoke to her at 17 says, Margaret, we're not happy. We're not doing what we need to be doing. Some sense of where she should move was not right. She goes to an island. She writes 5 hours a day. Doesn't fit right. Looks good, sounds good. Her friends are impressed. Her children are happy. But it's not right. She has set a goal.
Why do you think Margaret went to the island to write instead of testing the waters first?
Margaret Burnham tested the water in the only way that Margaret Burnham has always known how to test the water. She's lived it, she's tried it, she's done it, and then she looks at herself and she says, this is right for you, Margaret, this is wrong for you, Margaret. She can't rely on other people's assessments. She can't rely on other people's sense of her own success. She can only rely on the experiential self-assessment. It's right for me, it's wrong for me.
Helen, what do you think was going on in Margaret's mind when she suddenly shifted course and returned to the bar to resume the practice of civil rights law?
Part of what was going on, I think, is a developmental process of learning the things that were important to her. But it might have been averted if she had looked at what will this goal do for me if I have achieved it. Not only do you want to look at what the goal is, but you want to look at what it's going to buy you.
But was Margaret really seeking greater achievement?
She probably did have a sense of achievement, but maybe her real goal, as I look at it from the way you're framing the question, would have been to find fulfillment, find meaning. And frequently that is the case. When people start their careers, they're starting on an agenda of having competence, demonstrating competence, on achieving financial stability. Eventually they become comfortable with what they can do, who they are, and then they do change into looking at what is meaningful, what is fulfilling, what really speaks to my purpose here.
In terms of acknowledging her successes and failures, Margaret seemed open and clear. Her perspective seemed to be, we all experience both as we go down the path or off the path, as it were. What would you say that process serves, Helen?
Acknowledging one's successes and failures is how you define what you want to avoid as well as what you want to achieve. They also may be things that you can learn from so that you don't make the same mistake again.
Isn't it hard not to get discouraged or impatient in the pursuit of difficult or long-term goals?
Patience, of course, is one of the big challenges in going after a goal. Having patience is something that can be elusive. For example, if you have a goal of getting a job and it takes you 8 months to get a job, if you really are measuring yourself by whether or not you've gotten that job, you're going to become very impatient. So a strategy to work with achieving patience is to break those goals into a sub-goal or into sub-goals, which will give you a sense of achievement so that you don't feel like you're spinning your wheels.
All right, I think we've discovered that Margaret's decision to step down from the bench was equal to the vision that led her to it. But what allowed her to make that decision? Testing the waters, constant reassessment of her goals, and acknowledging her successes and failures. Now you're going to meet another visionary, Michael Sales, kindred to Margaret in his commitment to empower people.
My life work goal is to be a community builder.
Michael Sales has always been enthusiastic about pursuing his goals. He says he's still implementing and refining goals he first developed as a student in the 60s. Only now he's using his insights and goal-setting techniques to help corporations and individuals meet their own goals. Michael worked with Joyce Cofield, who is a scientist at Polaroid Corporation, wondered whether she should redirect her career toward human resources.
Some of his work helped focus me very much around, it was human resources that I really wanted to concentrate in, and that's where I thought I could make the greatest contribution here at Polaroid.
The importance of focusing on one thing is that you unclutter your mind and your action from pursuing irrelevant priorities and go after the one object that is most important to you and most important to your organization.
We have two major events.
Focusing has allowed Joyce to follow the track that is right for her, which makes her a real asset to Polaroid. Michael also encourages clients like Dr. Angelo Lamola, head of research and development for Shipley Company, to use visualization techniques to help them clarify their goals and move toward them.
One of the things that's characteristic of people who achieve their goals is they get vivid pictures in their mind's eye of what's going to happen to them.
Shipley develops specialized chemicals for the high-tech industry. Their future depends on a constant flow of new substances. Dr. Lamola's team of scientists tries to both see and feel what it's like when they have reached the goal of developing a new chemical.
The visualization of what it's like when you're there is important because it helps you get there. Gives you some confidence because hey, when I get there, it's gonna feel like this, and I clearly see that.
Michael also encourages more down-to-earth approaches to goal setting, such as simply breaking a goal down into sub-goals.
It's the small steps and the test and the recognition of those small steps that actually end with the success.
I keep clearly in mind the one or two things that I'm going to get done that day, no matter what else. So it's not a long list, it's one or two things.
But if you're wondering what to tackle first, Michael has a clear suggestion.
Do the hardest thing first. That will give you an immediate experience of success in your day. That you can always feel like, if I don't do anything else today, I did the hardest thing first.
It is also important to share your goals with someone.
Letting other people know what my goals are, letting other people know and participate in that process.
Sharing with others allows them to play a role in reaching your goals. They can give you the boost you may need when your own resources are wilting.
I'm somewhat accountable to them as a result of my having told them. They are likely to pull me through to my own commitment. This ratty old picture has been with me for about 25 years, and she's saying here that knowledge is power.
Michael encourages the use of a range of visible reminders to help keep in mind both long-term and short-term goals.
I can talk to my U.S. colleagues all day long, and I can write memos, and I can forget to include some of the offshore people that are absolutely crucial if we're going to achieve globalization. But that reminds me that there's something that's important for me to do.
Joyce Cofield uses this poster of African-American heroes who have inspired others to reach their goals.
It sort of symbolizes the kinds of things that I'd like to be about in terms of my own life. Not necessarily that out front, strong, necessary leader, but that one who really does give the energy and empowers others.
For Michael Sales, goals are the vehicles that propel us to new achievements. Since his college days, his goal has been to help both organizations and individuals gain the tools they need to set up their own futures.
My life work goal right now feels totally consistent with the goal that I had in my 20s, that being a community builder in organizations entails providing people with information and with motivation that they use to gain more power over their own lives.
No less a visionary than Margaret, Michael's style is more particular and concrete and highly tuned through his advanced training and expertise in organizational management. Which of our guidelines did you feel Michael reflected in this portrait? Was he on track in his life-work pursuit? Now let's go to our other experts. Tom, what does Michael say to you about goal setting?
He says visualize, be concrete. Don't go into the future in some ambiguous way, in some amorphous way, in some abstract way. Let's make it concrete. Where's this corporation going? How do we get there? People will be less anxious if they know.
What about you, Helen?
I see him as having articulated many of the qualities of goal setting very effectively. I see him creating a very clear focus for people, a map for which they can channel their energy to achieve their goal.
Michael says that sharing your commitment can play a significant part. What do you think?
Sharing your goals with other people offers a means of finding reinforcement and support. Sometimes motivation, because when you share them, it's a matter of embracing them. You have to do what you say you do.
As a psychologist, Tom, why would you say we should let people in on our goals?
Well, partly it's to get the input from these people. Maybe they can help me. They're my network. They'll support me. They'll reinforce me. But it also is this business of having gone public, making that public proclamation of, I am committed. And these people, in a sense, in real terms and in imagined terms, will keep me honest.
Michael also pointed to another of our guidelines which advocates using reminders. Helen, what are some practical effects of using short-term goal reminders?
The records and lists are a way of keeping track. Writing something makes it real. It makes it more real than if you hold it in your mind.
If it works, use it. I think all of our experts would agree that it's important to find the right system for you. There's no magic formula, no hard and fast rules, but there are guidelines and they do help. So let's quickly review our guidelines and then I'll give you a personal action plan to help you put them to work. If it works for you, use visualization techniques to rehearse the future. Then test the waters to see if you're making the right choice. And when your goal is set, share your commitment to make it more real and more defined. Then focus strongly on one area using sub-goals and action steps to break the big goal into doable pieces. And use reminders both to keep track and keep you on track. Don't forget to acknowledge your successes and failures along the way, being patient and forgiving, but also being honest and continually reassess your goals to be sure you're on target. There are many types of goal setting and planning systems in use today, but we're going to use a personal action plan which addresses 3 critical questions. Where do I want to be? Where am I now? And how do I get from here to there? Answering these questions will allow you to define and develop your long-term goals. First, where do I want to be? Free your mind of stereotypes and should-dos and just brainstorm. Generate a detailed mental picture of what you'd really like to accomplish in 5 years' time in one of these categories: career, leisure pursuits, relationships, education and skills, financial status, and health. When all filled in, that picture will be your long-range goal. Second, where am I now? Assess your current situation according to what skills you need to acquire, talents you need to develop, and resources you need to gain in order to reach your long-range goal. And third, how do I get from here to there? Think about our 8 guidelines and the techniques you've learned about in this program and try to match them to your needs. By the time you've completed this, you'll be on your way towards charting your life work goals. Since many unknown factors can and will influence the course of your future, stay flexible. Think of your goals as directions rather than rules, and allow for the adjustments you'll inevitably make. Remember, life work planning is all about you. It's to help you gain a better balance between learning, working, and leisure, and to achieve more effective use of your personal talents. It's intended to help you connect with what's most important for your happiness and to make your life and work more enjoyable, not more stressful. So choose the approach that works best for you, learn from it, and enjoy it. And even when basking in the satisfaction of having reached your life goal, Don't forget to keep looking ahead. I'm Amalia Barreda for the American Management Association.